Hi guys, and welcome to another Evolve Stage 2 video. And today, similarly like the other video, we are going to be having a look at the new perks for the monster this time. I'm just selecting some. Oh, I forgot we have to select 4. Yes, we're going to be looking at the new perks for the monster. Now, I've already had a look at the hunter perks, but today we're just going to have in my overview a first real look at all the perks in regards to the monster. So I've just picked the Goliath, and let's have a look at what perks there are. Now, I have seen some videos, and apparently there's a very overpowered wraith set of perks you can pick. So I'll have a look into that a bit more and see if I can see what I think of it, and might do a video on it. Right, so let's have a look what we've got. And so we're in the minor, so slot 1, so the minor perks. Let's have a look what we can have them. Now, a lot of these, unlike the hunter ones, seem to have more than one active effect at a time, whereas a lot of the hunter ones are only one thing specific, apart from the Rocket King, so the Rocketeer kind of perks, which have 3 bonuses. So this one, these tend to have more than one effect at one time. So let's have a look. So Brawler, 4% climb speed, 3% traversal regen, and 3% damage reduction. So this is probably a Brawler because that's the player style of Goliath. So that's probably the standard. If you're going for Goliath, that's probably the one you want to go for, because immediately, well, you're getting the traversal regen, climb speed to get away. You've also got the damage reduction, so it's actually kind of a defensive perk, but it allows you, because you've got that damage reduction, it allows you to go into and fire for a little bit longer. I know it's only 3%, but we'll get to the later perks. Enhanced senses, so plus 20% smell sense range, and 20% pounced damage. Okay, so that's interesting. So pounce damage is always good, especially if you're being sneaky. Having that extra damage can always be helpful, especially if a hunter's gone off on his own. 20% smell range. I always like smell range because I like to know where the hunters are, especially now they have an upper hand and knowing where the monster is more easily. It's nice to have that upper hand and know where they're coming from. Fast climber, 10% climb speed and 4% traversal regen. Faster climb, so that's kind of self-said. Faster climber, traversal regen, which is nice as well. Haste. Now, I picked this one in the last video, so this is movement speed. I like movement speed, and to be fair, Meteor Goliath seemed pretty slow yesterday, so it was a good job I had chosen that. That's haste, 7% movement speed. Heavy armor, 4% damage reduction. So let's have a look. So you can either pick heavy armor, so you get 4% damage reduction, or you can have 3% damage reduction and some extra bonuses with Brawler. So that's interesting. Hunter, 20% feeding speed and 5% movement speed. So there's lots of different combinations you can have, because you can have more movement speed but not have any bonus to feeding speed, or you can go for movement speed and feeding speed. So the options are there. So there are quite a lot of choices. I don't know what is going to be more beneficial, having 2 effects or just the one but a bit more powerful. Savage nature, climbing speed again, 10% feeding speed and 10% smell range. So this kind of encompasses a bit of the hunger perk, a bit of the fast climber perk, and a bit of the movement speed. And a bit of the enhanced senses. So that's kind of a combination. So they all kind of mix together really. Unstoppable, 15% armor regen and 3% damage reduction. See, that's another one. So we've got these kind of 3 perks that are kind of all different variants of one another, which is kind of nice. Unstoppable, like this. Okay, right then, that's the first set of, that's slot 1. Okay, let's go on to slot 2, so let's just pick Brawler. Okay, so these are the major perks, so these add a lot more, their effects are a lot more powerful. So you can already see traversal regen plus 10% when it was plus 5 or plus 4% before. Okay, crippling attack. Melee attack, slow targets, 20% for 2 seconds. Now this is why I had a problem with the hunter one. I'm not quite sure what that means. So is that every melee attack? Every melee attack you hit slows the target by 20% for 2 seconds. Okay, that one kind of makes more sense, but the one with the hunter, with the poison bullets. I'm not quite sure how that worked, to be honest. So yeah, so that's kind of the monster's variation. So it slows the target for 2 seconds. That might be useful for Behemoth, who likes to get the hunters in close, and you can trap them. So having that slowing them down would actually be very useful. Endurance, 10% traversal regen. That's self-explanatory. Feral Instincts, 10% climbing speed, 20% feeding speed, and 20% smell range. So that's just a stronger version of one of the first perks we've just looked at. It's got more, their effects are a lot stronger, so you can, keep adding on top of each other, which is, I'm going to go through in the analysis of the perks in more detail anyway. Insatiable Hunger, 40% feeding speed and 10% movement speed. Again, just another, a better version of one of the first perks. Mutated Claw, melee attacks deal 15 damage per second for 3 seconds. So that's interesting. So you can either, choose to do more damage, or you can choose to slow the target. I don't know what would be most effective. I suppose if you go in a full-out damage, play style, then yeah, that would be great. 15 damage per second, that's a fair amount of damage, especially if it's each melee attack. I don't know how it works. Mutated Haste, 10% movement speed. Again, I like movement speed personally. I think it'd be very useful for Wraith. I'm not quite sure what the there's apparently an OP perk selection you can have, so I need to have a look at that, see how it works. Mutated Recovery, 7% ability cooldown reduction. Now that's always a good one, particularly for Kraken, because he tends to be up in the air. He's not a close combat monster, so having that ability cooldown is always useful. And 7%, which isn't much, but we'll see if there's any superior perks which actually make that a bit stronger. Mutated Senses, 40% smell range and 40% pounce damage. Now Wraith is good for sneak pounces, so that might be a very effective one, especially when you can use decoy to distract the hunters. Scale armor to 8% damage reduction. Okay, so that's it was heavy armor in the first perk, so now it's scale armor. Okay. Speed Climber, 25% climb speed, 7% traversal regen. So we've got those variations going on again. So that is the major perks. Let's click the Speed Climber. And finally, we're on the superior perks. So let's have a look what we've got. Deadly Brawler. So again, so we've got Brawler. I can't remember what the other one was, and now we've got Deadly Brawler. So it's the same again. 15% climb speed, 5% traversal regen, and 4% damage reduction. Okay, Deadly Brawler. So you can go for a full Brawler, which might be useful. I might have to try that with Goliath in one of the videos. Evolved Claw, melee attacks deal 30 damage per second for 3 seconds. So potentially, if you have that other perk, you do 45 damage per second for 3 seconds for your melee attacks. Evolved Haste, 15% movement speed. Interesting. So you can have a very speedy monster with all the, I think, overall about 40% movement speed increase if you have all the movement speed perks, I think. Evolved Recovery, 12% ability cooldown reduction. Okay, we've still on that one, just more powerful again. Ferocious Bloodlust, 20% climbing speed, 40% feeding speed, and 30% smell range. They're really interesting, they are. So those are all combinations of different perks that are really, they're really helpful. Like, I always wanted to be able to pick more than one perk to try and help me. Paralyzing Attack, melee attack slow targets 30%. 20 seconds. So you could potentially slow a target for 50% 2 seconds every time you hit them. So Behemoth could be very powerful with that actually. Plated armor, 12% damage reduction. So we had heavy armor, scaled armor, and plated armor now. So I think that would be an overall 20%. I think. Unending Endurance, 12% traversal regen. Wraith's always a good one for traversal regen because his traversals can take him, because you can go in the air with it and it can take it very far, especially when you use Warp Blast as well, because you can use that as a traversal as well, like Goliath's Leap Smash. Unkillable, 35% armor regen, 8% damage reduction. Now that is quite powerful indeed, I've got to say. So yeah, that is all the perks for the monsters. Now there's obviously, you can see there's obviously some more perks to come, like they have added a new hunter perk, they added that I did an update yesterday, and that added some more perks and things. And I also got tons of coins, which I said before. So yes, so let's pick Deadly Brawler. So yes, ooh, that would be an interesting fight. So yes, thanks for watching again. So that's just my overview of the monster perks, my first look at them in depth really, and I'm going to do an analysis similarly to the hunter perks. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.